to ensure that women are equipped with necessary skills during the campaigns while in office and after their political tenure expires. Critically, leaving no one behind suggests that we actively cultivate a ground for the inclusion and support of young women in politics and garner for the support of young men who are gender enlightened at various levels of participation. So colleagues, let us continue to pursue the 2063 agenda, that is the Africa we want. Working together hand in hand, working side by side, fighting poverty, we can only achieve peace only if we ensure good governance. Indeed, as former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan said, I'll open quote again, good governance is perhaps the single most important factor in eradicating poverty and promoting development, close quote. On that note, while speaking of the former United Nations Secretary, on the 13th of December 1996, the Security Council recommended him for the position. He was confirmed 4 days later, the 17th of December, by the vote of the General Assembly. So this is one of the most important days in history, which we must always remember as Africans. In short, you are welcome in our province, which is Gauteng, one of the provinces that we believe that is the economic hub, and it can assist us to generate more economy and spirit to our neighbors and our brothers and sisters. And we must always remember that we need to work together as Africans, protect our country, dignity of our countries again, and make sure that we participate in all these events like this one that is building and uniting us, so that we don't lose our identity and we don't lose our cultures. I want to thank the program director so much for the opportunity, and you are welcome indeed to our province. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MEC, for those profound statements that you've made mention to all of us who are here. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I won't be doing it justice if I cannot introduce my fellow National General Governing Council of the APRN, who are also forming part of this event. Let me acknowledge the presence of the following members. I will start on the left-hand side. At the back, just acknowledge, just stand up and raise your hand. We've got amongst our midst, Mama Dudu Ngidi, who is a member of the NGC. Can you stand, Mama Dudu Ngidi? Thank you. Just next to her is Mama Thuli Lubisi, who's also a member of the NGC. Next to Mama Thuli Lubisi, the vibrant comrade representing the disability sector in the country, Comrade Lux Matoto. Opposite Comrade Lux Matoto, we've got Comrade Tumi Zwane from the South African Youth Council. At the back, he's close to the door. He's looking at the back. Comrade Temigosi Joseph from the youth. On this row, in front, on my left-hand side, on my right-hand side, the veteran, Mama Laura Kanyango. And in the middle, in the center, Mama Ndivuo Sekuba. And last but not least, disability champion, Mama Poppy Mokumi. Those are the NGC that are here today to witness this event. So with those words, I will call upon the HOD for Economic Development in Gauteng to make some remarks on the provincial developmental trajectory. Dr. Sokele, could you help us to link up with the HOD? Thank you.
The HOD can proceed.
Thank you. HOD, the floor is yours.
Chairperson, I think you can proceed to civil society. It looks like we have challenges with that item.
Oh, okay. If that is the case, we will proceed. Colleagues, as we have said initially, this is an interactive process wherein civil society is going to be given a platform just to present to us so that the country review mission can understand, not only understand, but to comprehend the challenges that are facing the civil society in Gauteng. And I think that has been the order that we've been embarking upon throughout this provincial consultation. So at this point in time, we have identified 2 civil society activists who are based in Gauteng. The first one that will speak, it is Comrade Esther Padi. Comrade Esther Padi will speak on women, youth, and arts and culture sector. And please, Comrade Esther, don't make speech. Don't make speech. Just be concise, be brief, to the point, and explain to us the challenges that are confronting the sector. Thank you. You are given 15 minutes to do that. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. As introduced, my name is Esther Padi. I'm a bit intimidated by the beautiful brains and faces that are in this room. So if you can just give me a round of applause so that I get my confidence back. I'd like to greet the chairperson who is in our midst, and that is Steve, the NGC, the APRM leaders. And I'm raised by a Tswana woman, so she usually said to me, when you greet in a room where there's elders, just say Dumelang Bagolo. So can I be allowed to say Dumelang Bagolo, and all protocol observed? Thank you so much for this opportunity. As is mentioned, I'm part of a civil society, one of the members and an activist, but I like to call myself a revolutionary. I'll start by saying that I live in a very challenged and yet beautiful province, which is Gauteng. I thought it was an economic hub for us South Africans, but thank you, Bishop. Today I've learned that Gauteng has been an economic hub for almost most of the African countries. And thank you for that acknowledgement. At least it gives us a light that we have played a role, and maybe there's still more for us to do. And I would like to also appreciate our government for carrying us through this pandemic. It has been a very tough time for us as a country and as a continent in general, which at some point one would feel that maybe if things were done according to the African standard, maybe we'll be talking a different story. And allow me to speak as a young person, because as young people, we have this fire inside of us. And most of the time, our elders, they block this fire. We want you guys to give us the knowledge and give us the baiting to carry on with this race. And I'm going to advocate more on that, to say we appreciate your leadership, but we are still now awaiting the baton so that we can move forward with what you have started. So going back to the issue of our government's role, they really played a critical role in terms of how they fought this COVID-19 pandemic. Everything was systematic. Unfortunately, I was very young at the time where HIV was, I won't say started, but maybe I can be allowed to use that word. My English has decided to run away from me. We don't know how the systems were like, but with COVID, we've seen a whole lot of great coordination. But COVID has exposed a whole lot of things that were not going right in our country and in our province. As we all know that everyone is coming to our province to pursue their greener pastures, and we tend to become an overpopulated province, and it's a very small one for that matter. And everyone with great ideas are in the province wanting to pursue their greener pastures, as mentioned. And when COVID came, we then realized that there is a lot of things that are lacking, and we've left issues that were currently there, which were challenging us as civil society behind. We'll mention issues of HIV, the distribution of medication. NPOs struggled to maintain that system that they created to make sure that their members and beneficiaries are taken care of. So if maybe we can push the coordination of all aspects so that our NPOs can be able to survive. We were hit hard during the COVID pandemic, especially when the levels were very high and we were locked down. Most of our members lost their offices. They could not manage or be able to maintain paying their members. And as civil society, we are people that work from a heart and with passion. And we rather take care of our beneficiaries and neglect our own, ourselves and our families. So our families tend to suffer because we are giving our all to our communities. And that time, I feel that was one gap that we saw that needs to be fixed, so that we make sure that in us giving our all to our communities, we also are managing to take care of our own families. And a whole lot of gaps we've seen, women and children suffered a lot. And I won't go deep to way back on how the issues of women and abuse and how it has been exceedingly growing. But I'll just stick to this COVID period where we've realized that there is still a whole lot to be done for our people to be taken care of. And I'll still emphasize that because we saw that government can coordinate itself properly through this COVID pandemic, the rest can still be done in the same spirit. So we have women who have struggled a lot, and there's a whole lot of aspects on how we deal with the issue of GBV and the rights of protecting kids and their children, their mothers. But we've also identified an element of a mother and daughter issue, which is the clashes between the mother and daughter that have been neglected for so long, and it tends to become a generational chain of issues that a daughter will definitely experience what their mothers have experienced. So it is a serious problem, and it led us not on a narrowed manner of a community or a society, but it led us straight to a family setup where we felt that our families, mostly as Black people and as African people, they are in a serious crisis, because there's issues that my mother has experienced through my grandmother, and today I'm still experiencing. And if I could mention, it can be the issue of abuse, the effect of unemployment of women who are the majority in raising their kids as single parents. So that's one issue that we could not generalize or use an umbrella approach, but we need to deal with it and how we rehabilitate and restore the family so that our societies can be in a better place. We can't fight to heal a society if family structures are a mess. So that's one thing we have observed, and we would wish to have the support of the APRM to help us make sure that women are taken care of and are healed, because from the apartheid system, as a country, we are a wounded nation, and we have never really dealt with that issue. And as young people, we are here today fighting to take our space and make a living. We understand that we are not employed, we understand there are no jobs, but we have never been called and sat down to say, young people, the situation is like this, what is your solution? That's the only thing we are pleading for. Give us platform for us to give you the ideas that we have, and we will turn Africa around and make it and build a future that we think will be right for us, and also leave space for the coming generation. So lastly, in conclusion, I would also plead to our leaders that as Africans and as South Africa, we need to start to work on our identity and know who we really are, and have a vision that will lead us and guide us to be able to work in unity. America has an American dream. I don't know what the dream is, but you speak to an American today or tomorrow, they will tell you about the American dream. What dream do we have as Africans? What dream do we have as South Africans? What vision that is uniting us to move forward, regardless of our differences, but to make sure that we are winning a battle that we are fighting. Thank you very much.
Round of applause for Comrade Esther. Chairperson, Excellent Chefuta, I don't know why I've missed out another NGC member. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, we have in our midst Ms. Tino Mlaba, who is sitting at the back. She is also part of the NGC, representing Department of Public Service Administration. Yeah, I think that was mouthful, Comrade Esther. But I think, Comrade Macy, you have seen, you have witnessed what Comrade Esther has articulated. And I think at this particular time, let me call you the LGBTIQ plus sector. It's a long, sentenced sector to please come forward and make some remarks. Thank you very much.
I also feel intimidated, especially when they call LGBTIQ. Others, they used to say LGBT what, or LGBT 11. Thank you, Program Director. In short, I'll say all protocol observed, because we've got a lot of issues to say to you, to discuss with you, or to say to you, as I've said. My name is Macy Motaung. I'm from Tshwane, in the beautiful city, province of Gauteng. I'm LGBTIQ activist. I'm a coordinator from SANAC, managing 4 provinces, Limpopo, Gauteng, and Northwest. This year I'm doing 17 years being HIV positive. I've heard you talking about HIV positive. Celebrating my 17 years being HIV positive through rape, but I'm still standing here being firm. Ladies and gentlemen and colleagues, thanks to APRM for inviting us here. It is with a great honor for me to be standing here. I've been told to come and explain the challenges that we are facing in the society as LGBTIQ. And believe you me, it's for the very first time being called in this kind of beautiful gathering, where we'll be tabulating our challenges that we are facing. Because a lot of people, they're discriminating us. That is the biggest challenge that we're having, stigma and discrimination. I've got my colleagues at the back I didn't want to be too self-centered. I've requested them to tabulate their challenges. Fortunately, most of them, they are similar. The biggest challenge that we are having as LGBTIQ, it is stigma and discrimination. But before I can go further in terms of talking about stigma and discrimination, people should be educated as to what LGBTIQ is. Without education, without knowledge, people wouldn't know how to treat us, how to work with us, how to support us. But most important is that they need to be educated. Education is key. There are kids who are still growing. Parents are not even aware that these signs and symptoms that we see, it's a symptoms or signs of my kid's going to be a gay or a lesbian. But ignorance at the same time, it plays a major role. Hence, I've indicated earlier that the most important thing that we are facing, the biggest challenge, is stigma and discrimination in all government sectors. We don't get proper assistance in terms of health facilities, and we are the beneficiaries of those health facilities. People are being employed but not being educated as to how to handle issues or people of LGBTIQ in your fraternity. It goes back again to SAPS. A person is being raped, go and report a case. When you go there, being a gay says that I've been raped by a man. It becomes a taboo. People end up saying that you are evil, and that's where we need more education to be instilled in a lot of people who are working in the government sectors, especially about how LGBTIQ people need to be treated. We are human. We are like any other person, but we differ in feelings. And thanks, we've got Bishop here who will maybe assist me maybe in return. We don't have a space in the religion sector. The churches are expelling us. They don't want us in their churches. They say we are demonic. So I don't know, are we supposed to be on the street every time, go and drink alcohol and forget about that? We need to go and pray God, of which others are not. They don't like church because they're not Christian. They don't like church because of the way we've been treated, or we are being treated in the Christian side. And believe me, all of us, we need a safe space. I was talking earlier on that with one of my colleagues that a safe space is not at my home. Even when we go to church, we need to be safe. When we go to the shebins, we need to talk about LGBTIQ. We need a safe space. When you go to tavern, you need to talk about LGBTIQ and GBV. It has to be a safe space for us. Everywhere it has to be a safe space. But beside that, we are being discriminated, we are being killed, we are being raped. As I'm saying, I'm one of the survivors of, one of the culprits of person who's been raped through my sexuality. And the other issue that has been raised is that gender-based violence programs, that they don't speak a thing about LGBTIQ, but yet they go door to door recording the cases of LGBTIQ, of which they don't have even information as to how are they going to handle those cases. When I'm talking about the gender-based violence programs, fortunately we've got the brigades, and they will agree with me when I say that when they come across a case of LGBTIQ, they'll look around them who is a gay or who is a lesbian before they can attend to the case. So such issues, it goes back to when I say we need more education to each and everyone so that we can be able to be treated with respect. And we still have a lot of hate crimes where people have been killed and raped because of their sexuality. We need a safe space, guys, whereby we are being covered by a constitution. We are living in a democratic South Africa. So if we are not living in a safe space, where do people want us to live? This is our country. We need to be safe there. So we still have a problem of hate crime where we don't have a say, if I may call it. And the NGOs are failing us also in terms of the same issues that I've raised, that people are documenting the cases of LGBTIQ, but they don't have knowledge. So education is key. If maybe we can be able to educate the people who are doing the cases, who are working in the NGOs, those gender-based violence programs. And the other thing, LGBTI issues can't be helped because of bills that human rights don't want to pass. But I guess we are not ready to speak of it. The government is failing us as the Rainbow Nation. I also still agree that the government somewhere is failing us because they have their own people. Most of the organizations that are running the LGBTQ, I think in Gauteng, if I can say, they don't have even access to resources. They don't have access to funds. They don't have access to anything. There are specific people who benefit from those funds, from those how to call it, the resources. Home Affairs also is having a problem in terms of ID towards the transgender people. People are still saying that transgender people, it's a curse. We are not a curse, we are human. We need to be loved, we need to be taken care of. Most importantly, the program director, what we are crying of is stigma and discrimination and acknowledgement and acceptance. And at the same time, we as the LGBTIQ people, we need to know how to present ourselves to the community so that the community can be able to love and accept us. Others, they misbehave in a way that it ends up covering all of us. And believe you me, as I've indicated earlier, that we are human. If God can take us from January to December, meaning He can take us from pain to peace, from insult to results, and from shame to fame. So what we need from you is moral support, accept us, and don't sideline us. And we really appreciate the invitation, and let this be the beginning of our new relationship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Messi Mutangu. Dr. Sokela, is the HOD available now? Are the technical issues resolved?
Chairperson, it's not yet available, thank you.
Okay. If that's the case, can we break for 10 minutes? The time now is 5 to 12, and let's come back at 10 past 12 so that we proceed with the program, and probably we will enter into the last session, which is a question and answer session. So let's break for 10 minutes break, and we come back at 10 past 12. Thank you. Sorry, can we close the door at the back? We want to commence now. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Okay, colleagues, we are pressed with time. So I think it will be proper that we continue as we have planned this session. This last session of this plenary will be only accorded to questions and answer. So at this particular time, I will entertain questions that will come, especially from the country review mission. I'm sure they do have some questions that they would like to pose from the civil society reps. And I must further say that for civil society, please add or provide more information to back up what the speakers will probably provide. So let's not only rely on the Comrade Macy and the Comrade Esther. So if we are involved in disability, if there's a question on disability, Comrade Lux and Mama Poppy, if there's a question raised on that, feel free to come in and assist. Similar on the women issue, Mamulora and Mamungidi and Sistuli on community base and Angel Mamundivuo, please let's support each other. So I will hand over, entertain questions from the country review mission. So who's going to be the first taker from yourselves? Questions? Okay. The Rovi mic, can you please bring the Rovi mics? Come this side.
Thank you very much, Program Chair. My name is Dr. Mkhululi Spindi. I'm a member of Corporate Governance Thematic Area. I just have a few questions to ask in regard to the context of localization of procurement area, of procurement of evaluating activities from our main industries. Do we have a structural mechanism that will evaluate and monitor the involvement of our youth in economic externalities, the involvement of our disabled, and the involvement of women who are disadvantaged by the current legislature that is there? Do we have something that we can use to monitor if these people are involved in the procurement externalities of our economic activities, mainly from our mining sectors, from our manufacturing industry, and from our tourism? Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Disability, women, youth, I think you should respond to that question. Thank you. Further questions? Yes, Doctor. Sorry?
I am Professor Adewale. I would have loved to ask the MEC for economic development, but unfortunately I think the MEC is not here. Possibly I can direct the question in a way to civil society and others to pay attention to it. And the question should have been, if we look at our statistics, we discover that according to the Housing Development Agency, we discover that more than 76% of people that live in Gauteng live in shack. And only about 12% of people live in former houses. This is a kind of disturbing reality. And the question will have been, what effort have been made, concerted effort have been made to redress this? Because studies suggest that the trend analysis of housing structure in South Africa has not changed substantially since 1960. So apparently, the democratic dispensation has not added any value to changing housing patterns in South Africa. So the question is, what effort have been made to correct this? I thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Any further question from, yes?
Thank you. My question is in relation to the LGBTI. I would like to know that, I would like to understand if there's any legislation protecting the rights of the LGBTI besides the Bill of Rights. And then secondly, I see there are ladies wearing the gender brigade vest. I would like to know the challenges being faced by the victims of gender-based violence, victims in accessing justice, and also what are the challenges that you are facing as a community that is trying to assist women and young ladies facing gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My question is related to hers in terms of accessing justice. It's just one question. How accessible and impactful have the sexual offences courts been to the general public? So from the women and also from the LGBTQI groups, just to find out if the sexual offences courts have actually been helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. No further question from the country review? No, we want to conclude. Yeah, they're going to respond. Yeah. So no further question from the country review? You're comfortable now, eh? Okay. If that's the case, let's get a response. Mamundivuo, Mamu Popi, you're a second one. You're first one. Huh? Oh, a question, okay. Let's give
Thanks, Dumelang. Thanks, moderator. My question, I think, thanks for the presentations. My question goes to both the presenters for youth and LGBTIQ+. We as adults, as the elderly, we are not holding fast to whatever that we are doing. We are prepared and ready to hand over the baton to the youth. But my question is, to what extent do you as young people ensure that young people with disabilities are included in your programs? And to what extent do you ensure that you bring the parents of those young people on board to ensure that they become part of you? Because I have no doubt that we have young disabled people as well. And also with regard to the LGBTQI plus community, to what extent do you ensure that those non-gender conforming community who are disabled are part of your programs and engagement? Thanks.
Thank you. Can I speak, Chair?
Yeah, you can speak.
Thank you. I just want to talk to my name is Ndibo. I'm from civil society. I represent South Africa NGO Coalition, which is an umbrella body of NGOs in South Africa. I'm also an activist. I run a transit house in Brandfisher, which is called Brandfisher Hope Center. So I'm part of the organization that works with the Department of Safety in Gauteng. Hence, we have the brigades. We advocated for a ward-based solution to address GBV. So the brigades are about more than 500 employed as activists on the ground. They have all support from the department. They do door-to-door on daily basis. They liaise with the nearest police stations. On the issues of sexual offense in Gauteng, we have two Tuzela centers that works within the Department of Justice, the Department of Safety, including SAPS. In Soweto, we have one in Baragwanath. It's a one-stop center you get your doctor, everybody's done in one center. So in terms of the Gauteng provincial government to address GBV with NGOs, there's a collaborations of work and programs. Like last week, we organized a teenage pregnancy work dialogue, because the statistics has shown that in Gauteng in particular, more than how many kids that got pregnant during COVID. And we then call as NGOs, call the department that we need to dialogue about that, and we got supported from the department for government. So, but we are saying it cannot just be dialogue, we need program within the department. So we are going to make sure that each and every schools, we have people that will motivate young people in terms of sexual matters. The other thing that Gauteng the government does, they set aside some program to empower women cooperatives in terms of producing hospital linen. They are produced by women in Gauteng. And it has been a lifespan of more than 10 years now. And they also give support to assist women that want to go to small business through SMMEs. But at local government, I cannot speak of Tshwane, but I can speak of Johannesburg, that the MEC, who was an MEC for finance, MMC for finance, she has program, which is a one-stop center within the city of Johannesburg. But because we have changed the government, we are not sure whether it will continue, because when we change government, it also affects the community at large. We've seen that when we have data for free, free Wi-Fi, we did have free Wi-Fi in hotspots during the ANC-led government. But immediately when the DA took over, that thing was erased. And we had free services like water and electricity for people that could not be able to buy. But when we change government, it changes also. But in terms of government listening to NGOs, and raising and supporting financial. That is why we're still lacking a leg to stand on. We have just heard that the Department of Social Development could not use more than billions. It went back to Treasury. And as in NGOs, we're worried because we needed that money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Devo. Let's get the response from Macy. Sorry, at the back.
Thank you. Let me answer this one of sexual offense being helpful. When there's a LGBTIQ person who's been killed or raped, we'll see more political parties coming forward to use that as a form of campaign. But at the end of the day, the families are going to be left being alone, struggling up until the case comes to an end. And most of the cases that are being taken care of, if I put it in a clear way, the police, they're doing their job, they arrest the perpetrator. When it goes to justice system, that's where everything gets stuck. You'll find that they say innocent until proven guilty, or maybe case is still under investigations. And most of the cases are still under investigations, believe in me. Unless maybe a perpetrator has been given a light sentence. But at the same time, you find that the person who's been raped or killed, the family is still around. There was a case whereby a person has raped a lesbian and was given 25 years. And after, they say the person is going to serve only 10 or 15 years. Then the question that is left with me is, what is going to happen with the family of the person who has been raped or been killed in that 15 years where the perpetrator, the perpetrator is going to be out from jail. It goes back to the family is going to suffer or to struggle in terms of how to put it, in terms of how are they going to deal with the situation while they are looking at the person roaming around on the street. So the people who raped and killed, they need to go to jail, period. No lighter sentences. But if you can go and do research and investigate properly, most people who have done that, all of them, they get the lighter sentences. So I just want to give a simple example. I had a cousin who was raped at the age of 8 years. She was 8 years by then. And she was raped in front of a 4-year-old brother. When they play around, that young brother will say, I'll go to Malome, that one whom they sell Magunya, to come and sleep or on top of you so that you can cry again. So you then ask yourself, how is that kid going to grow with that thing of saying, my sister has been raped. The thing that has happened to my sister was raped. So the kid now, I think he's 13 years of age or 12 years of age, but was raped at the age of 8. So mentally, that thing destroys a lot, and it creates a lot of anger, whereby kids, they don't even grow with a healthy mind. So what I'd like to say to you is that all the cases, people get lighter sentences. They'll always say we're still investigating the case, yet they have the proper information that is required. So I'm responding to this one of sexual offenses. Justice system is failing us, period. It is failing us, period. And in terms of Mampopi, thanks, she managed to call LGBTIQ in a proper way. Because they say LGBTI, blah, blah, blah. In terms of disability, yes, we do have some who are disabled, because in our communities, we conduct the community dialogue, where we engage with all the stakeholders. The church sector, the disabled, okay, let me put in a short way, sector reps. So the disability sector is there when you conduct the community dialogues. So we cater everyone. Unfortunately, I never had someone who's a lesbian who is disabled. in Soshanguve, I never met someone who's a lesbian, who's disabled, but I think in Swan we do have. So we don't discriminate. We always cater everyone. And I want you to understand that since COVID has taken place in these 2 years of pandemic, GBV has been a pandemic on its own. If you can check all the cases, most of them of gender-based have happened in this period of COVID-19 because kids are no longer safe and kids are the ones who end up being the victims. Bomalome now they're sorting themselves out with the kids. So if you go and check that how COVID-19 has impacted in the society, it has impacted in a wrong way. All the cases, I think most of them, they've happened because of COVID-19. Bomalome baloma bana. Even the biological fathers are raping their own kids because of ngwana wa kena watswa ntate mo shebile a ntse a ya kwa ntle le go godimo. Then in this one of legislation protecting LGBTIQ, let me give it to my colleague, then we'll respond to that.
Good day, colleagues. My name is Katla Opile. I don't know why my friend always tried to sugarcoat things. LGBT is not protected, not at all. It pains me that even still to this day, we are still fighting for so-called the rights that we say that we have. We don't have those rights. I've buried almost 10 friends of mine during this COVID-19 thing. Like it's a pandemic on its own. Even these brigade people, I just told them this when we were outside. It's funny they're always promoting GBV, but they're forgetting IPV. IPV speaks directly to us. They have nothing, but when they need stats, trust me, they come to us. That's the only time that they remember us. And that on its own, to me, it's a pandemic. We can't have that. Can we please try to change? We understand that we are a drop in the ocean, but let's just try to make that smaller drop in the ocean matter. We don't want much, we just want to matter. As much as people matters to you all, can the LGBTI community also matter? That's all.
I think there was a question on the procurement of the LGBTQI sector or community. So are you having challenges in that regard? If there are work opportunities at the council or the government, are you discriminated? Do you participate? I think they want to know about that, yeah. Not only yourself, but also other sectors.
No, I'm speaking on behalf of the LGBT. LGBT people, we are not represented by the LGBT in those big facilities or in the departments. You'll find a straight person representing the LGBT, a person who knows nothing about the LGBT. While we as the LGBT people, we are busy working on the ground, doing everything in our powers. They don't even help us. Even these ones, they are not even helping us. We are doing everything for ourselves. And when we come to those times that we are saying, okay, Mayor, can you assist us with this? They'll be saying that, but your representative inside the council chamber has said nothing towards that thing. So to me, it's a matter of they take their own families and they give them those positions and say, go and present these people. Not an LGBT person who will talk about the LGBT issues. Am I clear now?
No, you're not clear to me, you're clear to everyone. It's not for me. Yeah.
I think when we talk about issues of LGBTIQ, we LGBTIQ people, we become more emotional because we feel like we're being abused. We are visible to people when it's time for elections. They'll come running after us and say, come and form part of this, form part of that. But what she has said, what she has indicated is that we are not protected at all What we need is just protection and acknowledgement, as I've said, and the recognition. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Esther?
The issue was the issue of the involvement of disabled young people. I'll make an example with what we are currently doing. A program director, our organization called Generation I'm Woke is helping to turn young people to become active participants in building the economy. And right now we are rebuilding the economy because of COVID-19. But as young people still, we are not involved in that process. In us rebuilding, in us turning young people to become active participants, we want to develop a generation of young people who are involved and not fighting for what was there. We feel like we are fighting for an economy that existed years ago, and we don't know who the rightful owners of that economy are. Actually, we know, but we feel we might as well start our own that we can have pride in, and that will help us to be patriotic and not be angry and break everything that's existing, but instead build. So in that regard, we are having all kinds of department or sectors involved in Generation I'm Woke to participate, especially the manufacturing part. And that's where most of that role is being played by our disabled peers, because we have relationships with Albertina Sisulu, where they would say, or other, I forgot the other school, but they once approached us and said, after 18 years or so, these kids sometimes need to be let go of, and they don't know where to go from there. So we then working on building programs or take our peers to organizations that are doing manufacturing, doing beads, doing clothes, anything they can be able to do that they were trained previously so that they can be absorbed. Remember, our challenge as young people in this country is that we do not have access to any market. We are encouraged, we have entities like your IDC and the DTI that is encouraging us to manufacture things, but you can manufacture a hair product, you can manufacture shoes, you can manufacture your own clothes, you can manufacture furniture, but when it's time for you to access the market, you can't. So we are turning all these young people into small entities in a purpose of growing them to be able to participate with big corporates. And because we can't access the market because of the red tapes that have been created, we've decided to create our own market amongst ourselves. That's how all of us are going to benefit as young people. If you're selling shoes, I'm selling t-shirts, let's exchange until we get to where we want to get to. Because the red tapes are there. I can't produce a Bottleia juice and expect to sell it go Pick n Pay. It's not gonna happen. For us, it's a reality. We can't access anything. So what we are doing, we are taking the situation into our own hands, develop what we need to develop, get assistance where we can, and this process, you can agree with me, Mamzo, is not excluding anyone. If you can manufacture, if you can do this, you are a graphic designer, you are whatever, we are finding ways on how we can empower each other and be what we need to be amongst ourselves. Because the issue ahape is that we are not united and we don't have anything that unites us. So as a woke generation, we've decided let's bring everyone on board and see how we can build our own economy amongst ourselves. It's heartbreaking that there's trillions and trillions of rands that are coming out of Soweto alone, annually. I'm not sure how much we're losing in a month, but a lot of money is coming out of Soweto. And majority of those businesses are the people that are creating red tapes for us to grow. We can't be SMMEs forever. We can't. we need to now fight to be able to compete with the big corporates. So everyone is included in that system, and that's what we are doing so far as young people. I think I can leave it there if you're satisfied, ma. You're not. Okay.
Okay, now you're going to hold your own bilateral. Yeah. I think let's go at the back. I've noted you, Mamu Laura. Can you go there at the back?
Thank you. I have already been introduced before. The only thing that I can say, indeed, I am a disability activist. I want to make just a comment. I had to stall a research that I was doing for masters. It was on the LGBTQIA+. The A is mostly forgotten, which is asexual, and it affects the disabled people more. Because my interest was, why is it that I don't see LGBTQIA+ disabled people openly? And the interest was sparked by the fact that I always say that disabled people are, you do not know whether we are men or women. When a man decides to join the LGBTIQ, or when a man is a LGBTQIA+, the first thing is seen as betraying man. Now, how do you betray what you never was? You are not seen as a man, you are not seen as a woman, as a disabled person, but when you identify yourself with the LGBTIQA+, you are seen as now as betraying. Now, why I am raising that, it is that because disabled people are seen to be asexual. People who have no gender, you know. And it's interesting that even with academics, highly learned people, there are marginalized. For example, my supervisor, when he died, I had a supervisor, then I was given a co-supervisor, who was Paul, who was part of the LGBTQIA+ community. Then my research was going smooth. Immediately when he passed on, my research went back again. I could see that I was struggling with the understanding of the very person that is supervising me. So I'm saying that because my curiosity is not just about the story, it's about the impact and how it feels to be disabled. It's a double jeopardy that you already have, you are inhibiting a wrong body as it is being seen, and then still add on that wrong body another wrong body from the perspective of society, because disabled people are seen to be inhibiting wrong bodies. And we have a society that is for perfect bodies, and perfect bodies don't exist. So I'm saying that the struggle of LGBTQIA+ community is strongly related to the neglect of the disabled people sector. And, you know, these dynamics in the community, they become strong. So my curiosity was really there, and I'm happy to hear that there are people in Pretoria. In the Eastern Cape, you can imagine it's the rural areas. You have a wheelchair, you have mobility problems. How do you become LGBTQIA+? How do you say you are? because your very movement is dependent on another person. Do they take you to your boyfriend? They won't. It depends on who they, what stand, where they stand. So I'm saying that these are conversations we need to talk about and have frank discussions on. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Lux. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair. Bra Lux, I hear you that you want us to have these conversations, but the question is with who? Because someone there, she did allude that even the church does not want them. You see, I don't know. Someone was, by the way, next to me here, the gentleman here is Petulos Udi. He's a senior official at NYDA. Now, we have been youth activists for a very long time. Even those who normally come and say, NYDA does not do this and that, especially to young people. Remember, in the country currently, NYDA is the only agency that deals with youth matters alone. Then let's also say, if we are to criticize them and say they have neglected their task, they are not taking care of young people in terms of introducing the opportunities. Let's check their budget. The budget that they allocated cannot allocate 54 million plus people in the country. Then we also have to say, I hope the chairperson of the NGC is around here. Is he around here? I cannot see him.
The deputy has just arrived.
The deputy has just arrived. The deputy by then, I think she was an official in the NYDA when we started this campaign. Wherever we're saying, I think for the small businesses in the country, for them to be revived or to know which direction that they are taking, we need a study of knowing how many small business do we have in the country, and where are we going, and when and how, which we don't have. For instance, we have cooperatives. Some years ago, we were told about cooperatives. People join cooperatives. Those cooperatives have never even found a single job. I can assure you, Mam Dibu, from where she's sitting, I'm sure she's a member of 10 cooperatives. Not because she's a joining type. Because on cooperative one, there is no opportunity. They are told to go and formalize themselves. They will get an opportunity on this sector. They don't. She goes to agriculture. They don't get. She goes to another one. A person ends up being a member of 15 cooperatives. So because opportunities are not there, even the small businesses in the country, it's not also assisting, including the FDIs that we are having currently. So it's only when we'll end up having talks like, maybe bafuna ukufaka ama-girlfriend wabo nabantwana babo. You understand? Because opportunities are not being there. Now we're also having churches, which we are also having a problem with currently. Maybe it's because of poverty and lack of work or opportunities. If you go to any township or any suburb, each and every available space, it's a church space. In one street, you end up having 5 churches. Is it because we are a brain nation? No, we are not a brain nation. It's because churches are a business today. Now, I also understand the lady from, the colleague from LGBT. Churches are also a problem in society. When people did not choose to be that, that's how they are. Then you come and say, no, man, I'm a demon. We understand. And then you are now opening a can of worms for rapists. A rapist will end up raping people and say, no, if I'm a rapist, who's our street? Now, where should they go? We don't know. So I'll pause there, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see that the MEC She's still online. MEC, you want to make some comments on some of the deliberations that are coming up from the platform? Are there issues that you want to raise? Okay, probably the MEC, yeah. Mrs. Poppy?
Moderator, if the MEC is not on the thing, I won't pose my question because my question would be directed to her.
Yes, she not to be, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Colleagues?
I'll think I'll be afforded an opportunity should she come back online.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Probably if she comes back. Colleagues, let's have our final round of questions or clarities. But I think there was a question which was raised yet. I think two questions that I've picked up. The one on access to justice. I think there was a question to that effect. And the other one relates to procurement. In other words, tendering processes, working with government. Is that a conducive environment? Is that conducive environment been created for yourselves, your LGBTIQ, your disability, your youth, your women, to participate in that space? And I think that was the question that was raised. I didn't hear anyone saying anything about those two. Okay, Macy?
If government can come with programs to educate the people within their structure about what LGBTIQ is, I think we'll be in a safe space. Because even in the government sector, we've got a lot of gays and lesbians who are in closet. They're scared of coming out because of stigma and discrimination. So if maybe government can do that, I think it will be a bonus to us. I still remember it was 2015, 2014. I was called to come and be Speaker of the Parliament of Legislature, Ekurhuleni, where we had more than 2,000-3,000 of LGBTIQ people. And a lot of issues were raised there. Even today, we're still waiting for answers. And in the gallery, we had a lot of people, dignitaries from the parliament, from the government. They were there listening to our programs, but none of them has ever been attended. So it seems no one is taking us serious, but we are taking ourselves serious. So that's why I've said thanks for being part of this big initiative. I strongly believe that this platform is going to help us a lot. Thank you.
Okay, Comrade Lux.
I think I need to stand up for this one. And it's no by accident that I'm answering it. The fact that we are in the NGC does not make us cease being disability activists. Nor should we massage reality to make us look good. One thing in South Africa, I'm going to speak about South Africa because I'm in South Africa. Being disabled is a curse. It's really, really linked to that. Why am I saying that? There was 2% that was said to be achieved of employment by year 2010. You can ask any government department now, that 2% was supposed to be achieved in 2010, never achieved. Go to the private sector, never achieved. What is the consequence for not achieving? None. You have HR plan that speaks about targeting disabled people. documents signed. Nobody is even monitoring if those HR plans are being implemented. So there is no consequence management for the non-employment of disabled people. Let me take it a step further. The 2%, by the way, you can employ all of them and let them be cleaners. It makes no difference. You've achieved your 2%, you'll be given a round of applause. But report about a 50-50 of gender. Then the question starts asking, can you please disaggregate your data? Big English words. How many are in senior management? How many are in this management? How many are but when it comes to disability, nobody asks that because they are not seen to be important to be even in a management position. And yet Goal 8 of the SDGs, which you are a signatory to, and which the APRM actually, by the way, is the monitoring tool for the SDGs, speaks about decent work, Goal 8. And yet that decent work is not translated to disabled people. Now the 2% has been increased to 7%. You have a minority of disabled people. I always say that we are small people. But trust me, small people do grow. All of the people that are not disabled today, it's not a reality confirmed. It's temporary, only to be confirmed by death, because you can be disabled tomorrow. The reason this is happening is because as disabled people, we've become the dustbin of your unwanted emotions. And you make us the dustbin to dump those emotions on us. One author says we have been, operated upon. Many disabled people, by the way, have scars of doctors because the doctor has been schooled to fix that which is not right in the body, and disability is that which is not right. Then they put you under the knife and you go there, come back worse than you were. And the doctor does not take any responsibility. And nobody holds the doctor responsible because the doctor was trying to cure something that was wrong. As a result, you come with a shorter leg. Nobody asks you, why is now the leg shorter than it was when I went under the knife? I'm not saying doctors are bad, but I'm telling the truth about the life of a disabled person who bears the scars of a doctor and a mistake of a doctor. You've got many women who've had disabled children due to drugs that were outlawed. One lady is in Amtata. She sits with that disabled child for the rest of her life. She can't move because of induced, what is this thing? But she was given a drug that was outlawed because she could not, she was being forced to go to labor. And many give birth to disabled children, and they stand alone because at the sight of that child being disabled, the man runs away, and it becomes the burden of the woman. That is why there is this interest. So I'm saying, economic empowerment of disabled people, you can go anywhere, they speak about it. Ask where it is. You don't know where it is. You go there, because if you are serious about something, you put set asides and say, whatever happens, this is set aside for disabled people, this is for women. You even go and let them know about what is that belongs to them. The problem what we have in our country, every time we raise an issue, we give any dummy something to suck on that will not give anything. They created the presidential committee on what? Presidential disability, useless something, very useless. Because that thing was just meant to silence us. You can ask how many has that committee set. But on paper, if you get to see that South Africa has got the Presidential Working Committee on Disability, it's something big. Go to it, follow it. This year it has never said, even before COVID, it said once. The very fact it says that you will have one meeting a year with the president. One meeting a year. You can imagine how many things that have come up. When will you raise them with the president? As I sit down, then they tell you, for example, this year, they give you a theme. You are given a theme in December, that the theme of this year, on the 3rd of November actually, it's the year of inclusion. Which year starts in November? By 3rd of December, that thing is done. Everything has happened from March. Everything in terms of government has happened in March. Procurement, people have been doing upside and down and doing everything. November, they're ready to go home. And you are told as disabled people that it's a year of inclusion. You've been excluded right through the year and be included in November by who, by what? And then it ends in December, January, you come January, you are not included. To a point that we are made to think that we can't even calculate years. That we think a year starts in November and ends in December. So I'm saying that these are the realities that disabled people are living with. That's why disability is a face of poverty. Because when you are disabled, you are bound to lose your job. And if you don't have a job, you are bound to take risky jobs, even climbing ladders and cleaning windows. That exposes you to disability. Hence the interrelation between disability and poverty. Thank you.
I'm pressed with time now, because we're supposed to finish at 1, because the country review mission, they've got other engagement. So please, I will allow you to speak, but please don't be long. Yeah, Mamu Popi and then Mamu Loro.
Your comrade looks. The issue of disability is very emotional and emotive, serious. I had thought, actually I'm doing a wrong thing. I'm not supposed to be speaking after my leader spoke. You mentioned the issue of a presidential working group on disability. I did say, as we were going around in one of the meetings, that I appreciate our country for that. We are very good at putting black on white, very good at that. We are good at coming up with policies, legislative framework, we are good at that. They can fill up this room, those instruments. There was an introduction of this presidential working group, which I'm a member of. I always fight. When we have to meet, as persons with disability, what is frustrating is that we get put in some of these responsibilities, And when we got there, we get so absorbed. When we are to meet with the president, whatever time that we have to meet, we'll be channeled, which is a problem to me. That we should, I don't know, maybe we were not good at speaking as persons with disabilities, we can't think. We'll be channeled that we have to, there will be somebody who doesn't have a disability who will be convening and coordinating us to say, no, we are going to meet with the president. These are the issues that we have to raise. Therefore, we are expected to raise what the ears want to hear, not what we feel. I always say, with us, disability, we don't learn it from any book, we don't research about it. It's us. We live it. We know when we are not good at this time, and we know when we are good at that time. We don't have to consult somebody. So that's the challenge that we are facing. The economic empowerment, I said, yes, we are women before we are persons with disabilities or women with disabilities. And there's this notion that, or is a narrative, right, that when we address issues of disability, we are being told that we want to discriminate. We shouldn't talk about disability issues as persons with disability. Yes, we are advocating for mainstreaming. And my question is always, were women not human beings before they are women? Were they not being discriminating or being discriminated when we say we should focus on their issues? Meaning that we should first level the playing field, that we are on the same starting point so that we can compete equally. There's a quota set aside quota for women in terms of procurement. There is. I tried to look for that. Please bear with me. It's a hearsay. I haven't found. I tried to look for it. I understand there's a quota set for persons with disability, which is 5%. I'm not sure, Comrade Lux, if it's the case, but it's 5%. And I asked myself, of that 5%, what percentage goes to young women with disabilities who are in business, and what percentage goes to women with disabilities? That's the problem that we are facing. Nothing that I've seen, I've heard that it's been mentioned. Therefore, persons with disabilities are not given an opportunity or an access to participate and contribute in the mainstream economy of this country. And what is it that needs to be done? Because we want to contribute, we want to be part of the mainstream of the economy of this country. As Comrade Luke said, non-disability is not guaranteed. Those who were with me in the Northern Cape, you saw the lady that I was with. Her speech has been affected. Her movement has been affected. She's disabled. She was never involved in an accident, nothing. She just went through a rough time in life, and the whole landscape changed for her. So non-disability is not guaranteed. And disability, I say, is not it's non-communicable. It's not contagious. You won't get infected when you being non-disabled. You won't get infected. You won't become disabled by ensuring that disability matters are mainstreamed in whatever programs that you have, be women, be youth, be the whatever network that is there, be the LGBTQI plus community. I'm not sure how near can I be to God, that I pray that all of you here, all of you, excluding Comrade Lux and myself, become disabled. Not for a year, not for 2 hours, just for an hour, get disabled. Then maybe you'll start having a mind set change. Thanks.
Thank you. Mamulora, you are the last person on this matter. Deputy Chair, be ready for closing. Yeah.
Thank you, Program Director. I'm happy to be the last one. Just to respond to a few things that I've picked up from this discussion. I think the purpose of APRM is to look into mainly the way we were designing it at the beginning. It was to look at cross-cutting issues, which are part of what I'm hearing here. I think this part of this discussion from civil society is to follow that part of cross-cutting issues that Bishop, you may like to include in your reports when you prepare your eminent person's report for South Africa, which is going to be maybe to make this House aware that the information that is collected here is going to be the President's report to AU next year, February. That is the purpose of this mission. The fact that we are NGC members and we come from different sectors is because civil society in the Constitutive Act as ECOSOC has allowed everyone in this room to voice issues about the sector where they belong. That's one. Number two, the voices of civil society, yes, we do have as coalitions, right? As Divuo said at the beginning. And the purpose of those apex bodies or coalition is to have a consultation process which is not going to suppress the views of the people like we are doing, right? Where I'm driving at is that as a veteran at a stage of a succession plan for young women, like one said, are going to be stepping in our boots as we exit, but we are doing our bit, Bishop, on the skills development platform. The weakness where it is, as said by members here, is the issue of the funding model. The funding model from all the structures of civil society, 13 of them, I can count them, young CBOs, NGOs, unions, women, youth, and everything, is in the Constitutive Act of AU, right? Which is giving us a platform to voice and allow people to voice their issues. The one direction that I would like to take with this platform is that we did present the people so that you hear the story from themselves. Not the NGCs saying this report should be framed like this, but you're getting the stories from the horse's mouth. So in short, I would like to say my weakness when I say funding model is that when you meet with a minister, the first one, I was a group that was training these ones. I mentored them on the cooperatives and everything up until they got their funding. But the issue is continuation of a funding model, you know, that is going to feed in annually to keep the projects going. And for us to also exit assisting groups that are in these co-ops is that we also needed the income generating projects aside so that it can feed into the non-profit project that they are driving. So to summarize this is that when you go to the second year of your funding, you are expecting a renewal of contract. But it is never a continuous rollout to keep supporting until the project can stand on its own. I think that's the weakness where we are. And venting of this program is the support of government behind these projects. I don't know how we are going to do it, program director, but I'm just summarizing the information that I got out of this consultation, because at least you are witness on what young women were presenting in here with their leaders, with our president looks at the corner there from the Disability Act. And this is a problem that we have been arguing from our coalition structures to say why not even have 2% of disability in the budget. Now, 2% is fine as a representation of these allocations, but how do you know how many people are going to be there when you give 2%? So justification of that 2% to 7%, I don't know even now how you calculate it looks. The 7%, how much are you going to get out of the slice of the finance minister if you get the budget? So that's where we are to help the mission understand where women are and the groups that are here venting their issues. And I'm sure you'll be able to understand where the problems are. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mama. Colleagues, before we conclude, there is a question that has been asked repeatedly from the colleagues from the country review mission. What they want to know from the civil society that is here, because of the challenges with corruption in South Africa, particularly in the Gauteng province. So they want to know what is the civil society doing in combating corruption. Can you please indicate, that's what they want to know, specific mechanism that you think can assist in fighting this demon corruption, called corruption. So that's a question that has been posed to yourself. So any taker? Is there a program? Is there a mechanism? Is there a plan from the civil society, if not nationally, within the province, to fight and challenge corruption? Mama Ndivhuwa?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to be very much brief. I know of organizations like Corruption Watch that are doing a lot of programs to combat corruption. And also, there are hotlines in South Africa where you can report corruption. We have the anti-corruption lines at municipality levels and at provincial levels. But just to give big thought in terms of corruption, leadership that I hear from other countries. When South Africa got independent or liberated, I think there was a deep secret within the apartheid regimes that we were not aware of. Hence, these things of corruptions in South Africa is like a black thing because this government is led by ANC at national level. But I think there is corruption. I don't want to say it's not there, but the way they are putting it is like after counting 1%, the 9% that will get, they'll be all corrupt because they're blacks. But we have never heard the stories of white people during the apartheid. And sometimes when you give a big thought, you think when they came here in 1652 in South Africa, whether they came with ships or buses or flights full of money, because these people, they own big, big infrastructures and they own means of production in South Africa. So, but those were, we didn't even understand how they generate their wealthy. But because now we are liberated, everything that deals with a black person is corruption. And there was a small TV show in South Africa where journalists went to black township creches and asked questions to our toddlers. Do you know who's Zuma? And those kids, they were saying, yeah, we know Zuma because he gave us grants. They went to a middle class schools like the Indians and colored. And some of them, they said, we know Zuma, he's a president. But when they went to white schools, the answer was different. Those kids said, no, I know Zuma in Nkandla corruption. Because they've been taught from home that anything that deals with a black person is corruption. But I don't want to defend corruption, but I'm just saying the way corruption is in South Africa is just like it has color. It has color. We have never had corruption in Kanakoya apartheid. We have never had corruption, but the question, why now? And why everybody wanted to paint all leaders, African leaders, and this is not even in Africa, South Africa only, even in other countries that you are coming from. Black leaders that are associated with corruption. But the government is doing a lot. There are also commissions that were set up, the Zondo commissions, and other commissions to look and come out with a solution to minimize or to address corruption. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama Devo. You want to say something, Macy? Please don't be long, eh? Yeah. No, Esther. At the back.
I think that the problem that we're having as a country, for a lot of corruptions to be exposed, is there is no confidentiality. That is the problem. There is no confidentiality. If Hence, Mandibu has just indicated that we've got the hotlines where we report cases. There was confidentiality. A lot of people were not going to be victimized and killed. There is a hotline number that says you report your cases. No one is going to know. But because of lack of confidentiality, people are still victimized after reporting the cases. Thank you.
Okay, I see there's a hand online. Before I allow, let me not suppress you, Esther, because I can see that you're bending. You're bending. Yeah, come up.
Okay, mine was just very short, President. Also, Program Director, let me not confuse the House. I think one element that we can do or try to look into as civil society is to depoliticize the work of civil society, because we tend to be too political and we end up not seeing clearly which battles to fight. Ours is to defend our communities, and when the wrong is being done, sometimes we are too conflicted to fight the right battle. So all I'm saying is that for us to eliminate or try to reduce corruption is to know which side we are fighting for. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Nomonde Mkai, online, you are our last taker on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Esther actually the essence of what I wanted to say, that the problem with corruption is how we define corruption. Instead of actually identifying, in fact, we're treating symptoms of corruption rather than identifying the root causes. Because for there to be corruption, there must be a corrupter and a corruptee. And I'll just make a simple example that I always give as a challenge to change to parents to say, if you know that your child, it does not work and you have not given them a particular allowance and your child comes with a particular cell phone or they come with groceries without you asking where that comes from, that essentially is saying that you are actually already raising a child without actually giving them moral focus and moral integrity. And then that then gives a challenge to us, particularly the faith-based organization, because if you look at the South African population, almost 60% of the South African population are Christian, and those Christians are the ones that are sitting in parliament, but they are the very ones that are actually practicing corruption. And then what then is exactly what Esther is saying, and then we are actually going to turn a blind eye because we indirectly sometimes do benefit from the gains of that corruption. So I think what we then need to be looking at as a country is having a conversation on what is it that is our understanding of what corruption is, and then go into the root causes and then be able to root it out. And it didn't start in 1994, as Mamdivuo has indicated. It actually came back, and there is a lot of corruption that is as a result of the very businesses. And when it comes to business, it's got a different terminology. It's not called corruption. So until we come to that point as a country where we zoom in and say, what is it that we call corruption and how do we then address it? And it starts with us as civil society, because we are the ones that are raising the very people that are in those. I mean, they come from our ranks, the student politics. If you go to the students, how they started in the student, I mean, we come from the student. If there's corruption there, then you grow, you graduate, and then you become a government official, and then you then become a politician. So if we do not teach moral values in our organizations respectively, then we're not going to be able to win the battle. But thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nomonde. Deputy Chair, I think we have come to the conclusion of these proceedings. I will hand over to you to give a vote of thanks and provide a way forward from here. Thank you. You want to speak from there or from here? I think come this side, yeah.
Igama lama kosikazi. Igama lama kosikazi. Malibo.
Malibongwe, igama lamakhosikazi. Igama lamakhosikazi. Malibongwe, 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 Malibongwe. You want to sing? Okay. Let us be led then. Mandibo. Oh, we are honoring our neighbor, the Honorable Bishop, who is our neighbor. Actually, he was saying, no, he's not even our neighbor, he's just next door. Because when we want to expand our borders, we must first find our neighbors and bring them closer to us. Thank you so much, the mission led by the Bishop, the work that has been done over the past couple of days have been very intensive. Let me also thank Mr. Jamar from the Secretariat, the team from the DPSA, the Gauteng, we are with Gauteng today, as well as everybody that's here, NGC members, those who are part of the thematic chairs, the thematic areas. The work that has been done has really been groundbreaking. We want to be grateful that you have returned safely and that all has been well. I think I want to use this opportunity to raise a fundamental disparity in terms of why it is that we find ourselves as civil society that are represented. Firstly, the issue of depoliticization of civil society is a reason and a part of mobilization of democratic participation and political participation. Now, when we sit amongst each other and we find that we are still the vulnerable groups and other representatives of civil society who should be at the forefront insofar as issues of good governance and holding states responsible are not present, then we have a dual burden. One is to ensure that there is a success or there is a target achieved in the disability sector. The same with the women's sector, the same with the youth sector, and if you have to go through them. The thing I don't believe in is quotas. Because quotas have not had any qualitative benefit on the ground. We pride ourselves in having, 43% women in cabinet, Jimmy? 43% or so, I'm not sure, someone can correct me, but the last time I checked. And what do we find? Women are being raped and murdered every day in South Africa. Some people like to blame patriarchy. I have a very interesting group of female friends, and the one is doesn't believe that patriarchy is a problem, and she says, no, it's a condition that exists amongst women. Firstly, to lack the ability to empower themselves in the mind before they can empower themselves outside. Now, that I think is one of the discussions that need to come. The reason I'm raising this, since the formation of the Organization of African Unity, there was an intention, Mr. Jamar and Bishop. And that intention, in terms of a united Africa, has been obliterated consciously, and there has been an importation of what we understand to be good governance outside the context of colonization, present colonization, and post-colonization. The question before we start making a diagnosis of our conditions and the pressure that we place on the state should be, in which phase are we? And this is what Mam Duvo was saying. Because we are not free. We are not free from colonization. This is why we have an economy, Komitumi, that does not work for young people. I used to be the chief operations officer for the NYDA. Let me give you the first problem. National Youth Service, and Comrade Lux will confirm this. It was never intended as a remunerative process. It was to install patriotism in young people, like Masupatsela, if you remember. It was for understanding the country. But what do? Take National Youth Service, throw them into EPWP programs, give them 1.5 a month, and clap hands. That's work. You've lost the entire intention of the value chain in society that's meant to take those young people, skill them, make them patriots first. Which is why, when we were in a colonial setting, what is the first, most important thing? In any power, a global power, military conscription. Because military conscription makes you understand, firstly, how do I protect my country? Because we had to fight to get it back, but we are still where we were. So in our understanding, and I raised this issue, I don't know, in one NGC with TRIs, and the reason I'm raising it with the mission as well as with the Secretariat, when we are looking at the continent, let's ask ourselves, the good governance that we anticipate. You know, there was a presentation made by University of, who can confirm? The people who were telling us about all our sins. Yes. They made a presentation to tell us what we must do and whatever. We learned corruption because corruption was taught to us through a public service that we did not transform. And you cannot hold accountable those who still own the levers of your supply chain, of your human resources, where a Mr. So-and-so, and this is a good governance, Mr. Jama, we need to understand within the African context. Now, corruption, yes, it's a very serious problem. But what has attached to itself too is, and what Nomonde is saying is absolutely fundamentally correct. The first point at which you start corruption is in SRCs. That is why you're fighting to win SRCs all over, because that's where it starts. You get that small amount there for tea and for rusks and those things. And then you start chowing money from that point. And then you move and you say, hey, there's opportunity, let me go. We don't hold each other accountable. The minute you hold each other accountable, you have to create a faction. Now that good governance, it can't be just the engagement of civil society. It has to be in terms of what is the integrity of political parties. And we're not dealing with one party that is corrupt in this country. The party that continues to sustain, recycle, and re-energize corruption is the same party that transformed itself from the National Party to the DA. So when we talk about political participation, we must not be afraid to speak the truth, because we must hold each other accountable both internally and externally. I have not seen a DA person facing a Zondo commission. I have not. I cannot understand why a national party with organized corruption, highly organized, highly institutionalized. You know, I made this comment in the NGC about the Super Africana. Those people had a secret list of names from the churches right down everywhere. Every money you made, you had, it's like the Chinese Communist Party. You must give into. You ask yourself why it took the minority in this country come together to build a university for Afrikaners only. And you find that not to be discriminatory or racist. We are not saying don't build for your own. But what is happening in the country is we are going from black to white. And if we do not understand the significance of the continent, the significance of good governance in the African Union, we are going to then be direct contributors towards reversing those gains. And we need to ask the question, and I beg the mission to ask the question in their internal deliberations. Is South Africa in a colonial, presently colonized, or post-colonial phase? And I do not believe we are in a post-colonial phase. I want to speak about, I'm going to close, Comrade Jimmy, because I know you are stressing yourself with time. Defining corruption, yes, it's endemic, but the political killings that are attached to it. It is a sign that, and I can tell you this much. You know, now I'm going to sound, can someone turn the recording off? Okay, but I'm just going to say it because I think that, you see, when you are faced in a situation, there was a 96 project where the intention was for there to create a level of an economy from an elitist which will then flow down to the people. And ask yourself who was behind the 96 project. It was Stellenbosch. So even if you go and look behind those who are pulling triggers of people and killing them because they are so-called whistleblowers, etc., you find that the end of that gun is not the assassin itself. And the color of that face of that person is not the color that is sitting in this room. That is what you will find. And these are the honesties. We need to stop looking at it from the surface. We need to start interrogating the real issues that are causing these problems. You know, I don't believe there's a single person who is not disabled. COVID taught us that. And if we cannot empathize with a person who has a physical difficulty, imagine the emotional difficulty many people have gone through during the pandemic. It means that we have not been able to have the level of empathy, which goes back to the moral regeneration, what is that thing? Project, what is it called? That thing of the Deputy President. Moral regeneration? Movement, yes. We started that, and I want to raise this for the mission and for the Secretariat, deliberately. It emanated post the TRC, if you remember, Comrade Jimmy, with the intention of doing what? Let's harmonize our society. And it has not been able to give clear moral direction insofar as understanding how to treat each other with respect, how to treat each other for our flaws and our imperfections, our strengths. And so that entire process was a well-articulated and created space for us to then say, let's keep, you know, what is the opium of the masses? And they say religion is the opium of the masses. Let's keep the masses as comatose as possible. Which is why the need for civil society to rise is more pertinent than ever. Why can't the disability sector get more than 50% representation? There is nothing. I mean, for me, I think we must interrogate that, Comrade Lux, to say to ourselves, really, what have we not done that the women's sector have done? What have we not done that the LGBTQI plus sector has done? You know, I've been an activist for the LGBTQI plus community since I was very young. In KZN, if you are like dressing differently, if you are a guy, you will get killed. There's no other way about it. You know, KZN is that environment. And I see it's becoming a resurfacing phenomenon in other provinces. But KZN, I remember because that's what we did there. And one of the things that the Premier has committed to because we had the first global conference for the LGBTQI community, October 2018, at Constitutional Hill. And then we wanted a desk in the AU, but we understand the dynamics of the continent. I was saying to someone once, we were sitting with SADC and we were sitting with SWAPO and other parties in Freedom Park, and the issue of the LGBTQI plus community came up, and others were saying, hey, you can't talk, you don't raise that subject, and people are being killed. Now, this isn't an issue of faith. It's not an issue of anybody playing God on earth. It's not an issue of anyone playing God. It's an issue of allowing people, and that's where the moral regeneration movement, or whatever, I can't remember the last part of the acronym, including all other establishments. The same TRCs must be set up for those who don't provide the disability sector with what they deserve or what they refer to as decent work, or positions that make them have representation at the highest level in cabinet. I'm almost done. I just want to raise the issue of youth. The issue of youth, SMMEs and cooperatives. I think young people, the first thing they must do is read. We are not a reading nation. And we must be honest. You know, they say, if you want to hide money, if you're keeping cash in your house, you hide it in a book. No one is going to find it if they come to your house looking for it, because they will not touch the book. I heard yesterday, they say if you want to hide your jewelry, keep it in your oven, because nobody thinks that there's going to be, they don't want food. So when it comes to the issue of SMMEs, look at the cooperative set up of Tolstoy. Has the NYDA interrogated that? We tried to raise the issue of cooperatives, but then obviously the NYDA is a highly politicized institution. Highly. It's used as a vehicle for campaigning. You can say whatever you want. I can be called to order for it. That's the bottom line. This is why our civil society is finding itself, and our Chapter 9 institutions are finding themselves in a state of not being able to move forward. Because these are vehicles for campaigning. They're used for elective conferences. I was there, guys. Like, I'm not speaking from gossip. Yeah, we can confess. I mean, you know, this is a session where we must just confess. You can do that, it's fine. But understand what you know, and to me says there are maybe 15 cooperatives here and there. When you look at the project of what cooperatives can be, it can provide an independent economy. That is what that place in the Northern Cape, you were there, come here, Jimmy, Orania. That's a cooperative. Those people have their own money. In South Africa, Jamal, have you known about this? Their own economy, their own president or whatever they call him, their own means of trading, totally independent. That is the power of a cooperative. The issue is unity of purpose. Unity in understanding where we are and capturing the essence of those propaganda machineries that force us to subject ourselves to a kind of thinking that is counter what we are. Make us believe. And we need to hold accountable those issues that are not just urgent in society, but have been outstanding. You know, I'm a lawyer also. So when someone doesn't pay me, I send them a letter of demand. How many letters of demand have we sent? How many memorandums have we sent? Until we are able to find each other and not be intimidated by each other. And that goes to the heart of the nature of patriotism in society. Because you find in American society, when there's a tragedy, people close ranks, lockdown on everything. You isolate a person, kills a police officer, isolated for the rest of their lives. Where is our patriotism? But what is the state then doing to ensure that this good governance is also in the public service? But also, what is the private sector doing? The people we need to hold accountable is the private sector. I think that the level of intensity that we throw at the public sector, as if the public sector, and the public sector then listens to the private sector. You know that a guy who's there who handles SARS and everything, SOEs. Then listen to the private sector and say, oh, okay, let's increase taxes. While these people are starving and there's COVID and people are dying and there is 500 billion that went missing. In Gauteng, the money that went missing, people are being promoted. What are we saying? We cannot expect these opportunities where we speak to each other on a table and people judge us for eating good food in nice hotels, not to be able to then resuscitate the message out there. Thank you very much, Comrade Jimmy, for doing an awesome job. Thank you to everyone for attending. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bishop. Thank you, Mr. Jamal. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Whilst I was sitting there, I had a chat with Comrade Mama Poppy Makomi. And she just received very, very bad news that in the community where she resides, a man brutally killed his girlfriend and chopped her into pieces. In summer, that's in the news as we speak now. So this shows the severity of gender-based violence in our country. And with that, I thought, Bishop, I should invite you to give us or to render a prayer and conclude this last section, this last leg of our provincial plenary session in a spirit that will bind us and to those perpetrators outside. We pray for them. Over to you, Bishop.
Good governance is the message we bring here, but we bring it in this way. Let us be one another's keepers. If we are one another's keepers, then there is no reason, no place to cheat one another, let alone to kill one another. We came here to listen and learn how you are treating one another as mutually keeping one another. And we will write down our findings. I will be taking a resume of our findings to my fellow panel members of the panel of eminent persons next week, so that we prepare what the president will be sharing with his peers. I am wearing a cross which is not normal. It's slightly bigger, but it is made of guns. It's one way of saying that we are one another's keepers. The material with which a gun is made was made by God for the well-being of his creatures. So we asked in Mozambique after the end of the war that those people who had got guns should bring their guns, and the first thing we do is to cut it and make it unusable for violence. And then we give to the person an instrument of production. For instance, a plow, a bicycle, a sewing machine. And we came to the point of even making a tree of life, 5 tons of small bits of guns. And it's not just a tree, we do have also nests and the birds and the animals enjoying the coolness of the shade. It's another way of saying no one is entitled to kill the other, let alone within the family. It means that we have failed. We are failing to be one another's keepers. And we came here as APRM just to say this is our vocation. And of course in Africa we know no one in Africa belongs to no one. All of us have a family. We had an old lady when I was small, and I asked my father, Gogo so-and-so, how does she happen to be our grandmother? And I asked my mother, and my mother said, I think she is a cousin or a friend or a neighbor of, ask your father. So I went, I asked my father gave exactly the same vague response. And yet that old lady was considered our grandmother, and she didn't lose her right, the appreciation with which we lived with her. We don't know really where she came from, but she was part of the family, and this is normal in Africa. My prayer is that our mission may help. Thank you, Deputy Chair, for your very clear message, very sharp, and indeed we feel very inspired as to what we can achieve with a review mission well done, which is based on the findings, on the realities of where we have been. So God has blessed us, we Africans, because we are the only continent which has got this kind of mechanism. You go to Europe, you go to America, they do not have. And if God has given us this vision, then let's make good use of it, and probably others will be inspired to have something similar. So that is what I would like to make as my final comments before we rise for prayer. Let us pray. In the name of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our help is in the name of the Lord, who has made heaven and earth. Lord our God, we thank you for creating us in your own image, for making us part of the history of your creation at this time, for the challenges and opportunities which you give us, especially through our involvement in the APRM. We recognize that we have failed to reflect that image and likeness. The news we have just heard are a very clear example of our failure. We ask you, Lord, to teach us to express what is your agenda for the world. We ask you to receive your daughter who was brutally murdered, and she's precious in your eyes. You brought her to this world with an agenda, and she hasn't been allowed to fulfill that agenda. We ask you to convert the heart of this man who has failed completely in his vocation as a human being. Enlighten those who have to take responsibility for taking this process to its conclusion. We know, Lord, that this country is suffering at this present moment with the rest of the world with COVID-19. Heal those who have been infected. Protect those who have not been infected. Comfort the hearts of those who have lost their loved ones. We are clear also that other diseases are continuing to cause many victims, even at this time of the pandemic. We pray for the peace in the world, especially peace in our homes. We ask you to eliminate completely gender-based violence, which was never part of your agenda for this beautiful world. Help us, Lord, to see in everyone those for whom we have to care. Bless our agenda. All this we ask in the name of the one who loved us all, Jesus Christ, our Savior. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be upon you and remain with you, protecting you from every evil, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you very much, colleagues. This is to officially close this plenary session, and the lunch is served at Koi. Let's go and enjoy ourselves. Thank you. Hello? Yeah, okay, colleagues, I think we must make a group photo, and where are we going? Photographer, can you find a place for us for a group photo? Is it here? Yeah, okay. Let's come here, colleagues, for a group photo.